special. He said, how would you like to go down to St. George's Monastery? And I said, oh, that'd be great. We would love that. So we went on up over this road further, and it gets much steeper on over there on the side, and sheer cliffs and so forth. And I remember we walked down. Now it's just about like this, and tried to make, there's a path. We made our way down on the other side of that hill over there, all the way down to the Wadi Kelt. And it's quite a journey. We started wondering what we would find when we got on the other side. And so so we got over the Wadi Kelt, and it used to be that the only way you could get in the monastery in the old days was that they had a big basket, and you'd get in there, and then they'd pull you up.
Correct.
You know, to pull you up into the monastery. But now they have another way you can get in there. But obviously not very many visitors, and so, you know, we were a little bit apprehensive going in there, and wondering what was to greet us. We had never been to such a place, and especially out here in the big middle of nowhere and nothing. And so so we all made our way up that steep cliff up there, the Wadi Kelt, and talk about being worn out. We got top of, got in there. We were walking. As we walked in, we passed by a little room on our right, and we looked in there, and there were just skulls in there. All these monks who had died or been killed over the years, and they kept their skulls, and they were just a whole room full of skulls. And you think, oh me, what are we doing here in this place, you know? And so we went on went a little bit higher, and there was a room right over there toward this side, and the wind was blowing through, and it was very nice. And out there, nobody around, but out there was a tray, and on it was grapefruit juice on the tray, and little glasses. And we thought, well, they figured out we were coming. David didn't call ahead on his cell phone and tell them, you know, they didn't have anything like that. So, but they had it for us, and so we thought, well, I guess we're welcome here, you know. So we all went over there and kind of started sipping and looking around, you know, and wondering what these skulls in the other room. And so I happened to catch out of the side of my eye some movement over here behind in the dark, back in, and I saw it go by, and I wondered, what in the world's this, you know? And so I was worn out, and I sat down on a bench in there, and thinking, I wonder what we have done. I mean, this is really strange. And so I was sitting there, and this monk came out of the darkness, and he sat down right next to me in his robes, like that. And he sat there, and I said, oh boy. I said hello, and he didn't even say anything. I just, oh yeah, there's a vow of silence in here. So, you know, we just kind of, what do? You're just sitting out there, you know, and don't know how to carry on a conversation. Not supposed to, probably. And so, and again, here are these skulls off over there. I thought, now, how'd I get out of this place? Did you just get up and leave? You know? And then at one point, I felt a nudging like this in my side. And I looked around there, and he pointed to my camera, a Nikon camera, and he pointed to that. I said, camera, you know, and I kind of held it up as my larger camera, and held it up like this. And he was real interested, and he was looking at it, and I was explaining some things to him. He didn't say no conversation, you know. And then he said, stuck up his hand, and he left and went into the darkness. I thought, God, what is this? You know. A little bit later, here he came back, and he came and sat down right next to me with a robe there, and just sat there a minute and everything. And then he said, punched me like this, and I look over, and he pulled up his robe, and here's a great big Nikon camera. It had a great big lens on it. I said, what do you do with this? You know, he just kind of half smiled, no talking or anything, and he just went like this. So we came to one of the windows over there, you know, and he took that camera and he stuck it in the window right up here to this hill. There were tourists there. He was focusing that thing in on the tourists, and we're sitting there taking pictures down there. That guy was down there taking pictures of the tourists up here. I'll never forget that incident. It was just such an odd, funny experience. The other one I've got to tell you about that we had, you will see maybe some people every once in a while at our church will wear a t-shirt. Bob Adams is good at still doing it. This goes clear back to, I don't know, 93, 94 group, way back there. But it says, "I survived the Jericho Road." Well, if you go further than we did, and like David's telling, this was not paved at all. This was a very dangerous road, and just gravel, and much narrower. And on around there, it was very narrow. On the other side, just where we were before, where that Wadi Kelta is, they have very steep curves like this. And here you got a bus driver, and there are no railings, and you know you're riding around there and think, oh my God, what as wide as this one, and much narrower. And turning around like this. We were down there. We were coming back from Jericho. We're coming up the mountain. And he talked about David being on the right. Well, he was on the right over there, and I mean, it's just nothing but just a straight drop down. Maybe well, if we'll go over there or not. But anyway, so and just gravel. And as we're coming around up there, out here nowhere, you're not going to turn your bus around or anything like that. Here comes another bus on the other side, and it's coming this way, and we're coming this way, and we think, how are we going to do this? You know, and so these deft drivers like Egal, they got out, and I'm sitting over there where I normally would sit, and I could just look, all I could look out the window, and it was just straight down. And I thought, that wheel is right there on the edge, right on the edge. No way to step out. You know, you step out on the deal, you're gone. Well, our driver got out and somehow managed to hang on to the edge of the bus and get around to the front. And he goes around to the other side and talks to the other driver, and they take their mirrors off. Take them off on the sides. That's how close it was. Slick like this, no gravel, you know, and then those buses, and we're sitting there, and you're looking down, and it's nothing but just a straight drop. A bus, I mean, how big is that? And all these people sitting on it, you can't go anywhere, you know. And so we just inched our way, and they came within just inches of each other. Just inched their way around that curve like that sharp curve, as we're sitting there looking down. And so anyway, then our pilgrims, when they got back, that was the most memorable thing, David. It wasn't your teaching, it wasn't any worship service, it wasn't any holy site. And they put that big thing on their t-shirts, "I survived the Jericho Road." So you can say it too, but it's a different road today than it was back then. Just wanted to share those two funny little stories.